like, what is bartending anymore? When you get number 2 on World's 50 Best, all of a sudden, like, number 3 feels like a failure. If you really want to, like, play the game, right? Like, get the votes, work the script, all that stuff, like, you can get on the list.
Welcome to another episode of Bartalks. I'm here today with Ben Yabrow, who is the partner and manager here at Sip, part of the Sip Guzzle project from Steve Schneider and Jingo Gokhan and yourself here in New York City. You are, like many people in the industry who've been around long enough, A, receding hairline, check. B, sober now, check. And thirdly, you've done a lot, right? So from originally in the industry sense from Atlanta, but you've worked in Maui, you've worked for the Four Seasons, you've worked in Japan, you've worked all over the shop, you worked in London. Fairly, I would say, acclaimed bartending career, so to speak. Like anyone else who's not a type A personality, you just look like an assassin from the movie Leon, the French classic. We just spoke off camera just before this, we started rolling, about your dad calling you and saying you've got a reputation, a good reputation, but being on this list, right? Yeah. That was the thing. And the list we're talking about is 50 Best. It's come into the US quite hot, and suddenly everyone wants to play the game. What does your dad say?
Yeah, just like having a reputation now for being on the lists, being, whether it's North America's 50 Best or World's 50 Best for the past few years at different bars. I think part of you is a little afraid to not be on the list just for the sake of relevance. It's kind of one of those things, like, once you get a taste of it and you're there, not being there gets a little scary. Like, what does that look like? Do people still care? So many people come into the bar and they're so like, we saw you on the list, and we're doing the list tour of New York, right? Like hitting all the bars and stuff, and you're like, oh well, are we gonna lose that if we're not on that?
Well, it's the validation, right? The reputation comes from A, you were working for your list history, so to speak.
Most recently being at SG Club in Tokyo, part of that team, they got to number 10 in the world, and then at Double Chicken Please, getting number 6 on World's 50 Best that first year, and then followed by number 1 on North America, number 2 on Worlds, which is crazy. I mean, it's cool. It's overwhelming and very humbling, but then it's kind of like, okay, like when you get number 2 on World's 50 Best, all of a sudden, like, number 3 feels like a failure, and you'd still be the 3rd best bar in the world. But you're like, we're not as good as we used to be.
So the pressure's on here.
The pressure's always on. I talked with the team, and from the beginning, I've always said, like, lists aren't a goal, but from the outside looking in, just given the caliber of talent that we have in the building, it's an expectation from the outside. People, saying things like, oh, so how's it feel to be on a list before you even open, like a year and a half ago and stuff, and you're just like, I'm stop with that kind of pressure.
What a douchey thing to say to somebody.
I think a feeling of, like, if you're not there, you almost let your team and even your guests down.
Well, the guest thing I disagree with. If you're providing a good service and you got great reviews on Google and everyone's happy, surely what does this got to do with that, right? Like, it's kind of
for a lot of guests, I think, but for those like avid bar goers, I mean, there are people who, like, they just spend all their money traveling the world going to bars. And I had someone in the other day who was saying, like, I looked at the list and I thought a lot of it was like, I don't like a lot of those bars and stuff, and I don't understand how they were so high and things, and there's such a focus on it now, which is crazy, as opposed to just like, that's fine, and like, that's just not the bar for you.
If you are a bartender, bar manager, or somebody who wants to do this as a career, right? It's good to have some sort of crazy goal, right? If you aim for here and you even get here, it's better than aiming for here and then getting here, right? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Having a crazy goal, if you do achieve it, fucking fantastic. So it's nice to have these kind of lofty goals, right? But if you are trying to become the world's best bar and you do it through voter manipulation or weird like promises or sneaky shit, or you're inviting a bunch of people to come do takeovers and guest shifts, but the aim is not to have a good guest experience or a good, like, give back to the community. The aim is to just garner votes. People are gonna feel that. Like, I think the bullshit shit's radar in the industry is super attuned, right?
If you really want to like play the game, right? Like get the votes, work the script, all that stuff, like you can get on the list. Then that next year, people are going to come in and you're not delivering that experience consistently. And like that's why I think sometimes you see these bars come in, they're really hot, they got, you know, top 20 world's 50 best their first year, and then they're off the list.
And then the reviews are always, people hyper-focus on negative reviews. You could have 500 positive reviews, but that one person's like, how the fuck is this bar in the world's best bars? I had a better experience fucking Bushwick. You don't want to read those reviews, but you do end up reading those reviews.
It's like doom scrolling. Like it's like every time bar owners go onto, I think, Google, the first thing they do is click the 1-star button to see the negative reviews, to be like, how can we fix this?
You can have a great situation, a great bar and whatever, if nothing goes wrong, right? You're really tested as a person, as a manager, as an owner, as a venue, when shit goes wrong, how you handle difficulty. That's why I think like sometimes having crazy ass events, like you're gonna have an event in a couple of days where you're gonna have 6 bars in here, right? That's a small bar for 3 bars to be there at the same time. This place is gonna be packed.
Yeah.
And you're probably gonna pack it more so than you normally do, because it's an event. You don't have that much space, and you have a stacked roster. Something's gonna happen. But that stress test is almost necessary. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, even like going on guest shifts, it's not about making drink, like we do that for a living, but it's just about dealing with the things that go wrong, because I've never been on a guest shift where everything went the way it was supposed to go.
Never. And when if it does go right, it's too smooth, you're like, fuck, something has to happen.
Yeah.
Like you're like Final Destination, some shit is gonna fucking go wrong, and it's gonna be the worst possible time. It's like Murphy's Law sort of thing.
For me, I'll absorb all that stress. If they're not stressed and the guest is having a good time, like, job done, you know? Like,
just cry in the walk-in.
Yeah, sure. That's why it's so close to my bar. It's about the guest experience in the end. Like, that's hospitality. Like, we are like a vacuum for that stress or whatever they're, you know, not wanting. People come to drink to feel better or feel even better.
You are a child of multiple worlds in some way. Sip Guzzle, Shingo Kan, a very leading figure in the bar industry, specifically USA and many parts of Asia. You've worked in Tokyo at SG Club. And talking about the guest experience, a lot of people don't get that opportunity. What would be the difference between the guest experience here in New York versus, say, Japan?
From a drinks perspective, there are basic differences in like palate. Like, they like things drier than we do, lower in alcohol typically, but those are the easy things, right? Navigating the, I think, cultural nuances of hospitality can get a little tricky. Like, for instance, in Japan, it's totally normal for a guest to like raise their hand, ask for you to come to the table, whereas in the States, like, if a table is like waving you down, you're like, I'm not doing a good enough job, I'm not on that table enough. But there, it's kind of just like, no,
I'm communicating with you.
You just leave them until they need something, they'll let you know. Those kind of things. And that was something here, like, we open and we get a lot of Asian guests, obviously because Shingo has such a following in China and Japan, that we would get a lot of Asian guests, and like they would like be looking for the server, they would look at the bar and they would wave, and I would just poke my head around the server, and the server might be like, I was just there. I'm like, hey, you're not doing a bad job. This is just the differences, you know, how serving works in different countries. Like, this is what they're used to. So just adapt, adjust. When you're used to just being the one kind of initiating conversations, and all of a sudden that shifts, you're kind of like, am I not doing the right things? Am I not giving them enough attention? Like, why is this happening?
Hospitality. Welcome to the industry of neurotics.
Yeah, like, you know, how many times have you woken up in a cold sweat because you forgot someone's ranch?
I think there's a dualism and dichotomy in the bar industry, in that the pendulum always kind of swings both ways. Oh my God, we're taking things too seriously. Chill the fuck out. Let's just have a good time. But then it gets too sloppy, and then it's back to, like, it's always like, why are you so serious, bro? And it's like, it's not a real job. It's like we're Billy Milligan. We've got this, like, a million personalities in the industry, all trying to do things all at the same time. Like, on one hand, I make fun out of everything. I think it's very easy going. 10 seconds later, I could be hyper-focusing on something and being like, this is not good. Like, fucking fix this.
Take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. I'm constantly, you know, telling my team, like, guys, it's food and drinks. Like, we're not saving lives. Relax. It's not a big deal, you know. But then like I taste something and it's off balance in a batch that was made 2 days ago, and like now I know that that's been served like maybe a little too sweet for 2 days, and like I have to like go cool off. So it is, yeah, it's finding kind of that balance of the right level of attention to detail, but also like understanding that like it's not the end of the world.
I spoke to Remy Savage about this once. For me, there's also one of the things that he said to me which really struck a nerve, which was, he said, it doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter if you've done 80-hour weeks, 1,000-hour weeks, whatever the fuck, or you haven't slept or whatever. It's the final kind of product that counts.
Yeah.
I don't know where I saw it. Again, it's one of those doom scrolly things. It's something like 20% of the problems you'll encounter in the world are actual problems, and 80% of them is your reaction to things. Once you actively work on that reactionary thing or take advantage of it, not take advantage of it, but take control of it, then you realize how much the world doesn't have to affect you whatsoever. I had this thought a while ago, which was, you know, people keep saying we need to make bartending a real, we don't have to make bartending a real job, but like our job needs to be taken seriously by society. I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, all your American bartending heroes, historical bartending heroes, your Jerry Thomas and Harry Craddock or whatever, but Jerry Thomas, let's use him as an example. Loads of books, supposedly won 1 million competitions, all this like random fluff that he talked about. He's in newspapers when there was real jobs. You know what I mean? Like I would say that bartending why was bartending important 130, 140, 150 years ago? Back then, the place where people would go to communicate to each other would be the bar, or a tavern, or some sort of establishment where different people from all walks of life could mingle and talk. Essentially, chat rooms.
Yeah.
Now, thanks to the internet, thanks to the radio, thanks to telephones, nowadays, we're always all like this, right? Which you can't change that. You're not going to go back to the 1800s, 1900s. However, the moment you regain that spot where you're like, because bartenders were like admins, so to speak, of those chat rooms, right? 130, 40 years ago. When you become that again, where everyone who comes into a room, you know them by name, you can communicate with them, even if they're a tourist, you're like, you are controlling the atmosphere, you're attending the bar, not just the bar top. Suddenly you regain that respect. And if you're there for 3, 4, 5 years and you get regulars, you regain a place in society, which although you're just making drinks and food, you're an important part of their life.
Yeah.
That's where we need to aim for in some metaphysical, philosophical sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah. When you look at the bartenders, I think, who are like, we need to be respected, like they don't want to put the work in or do the things that are going to get them the respect. Like they want to be respected for just like putting liquid in a glass, which is part of it, sure, but that's not going to like really impact people. It's a cool experience, right, to have a drink that's delicious, or even like, you know, there's a sense of nostalgia, or like it's transportive, like you're like, oh man, this reminds me of something I had when I was like a kid in a different country, like, you know, whatever. Like that's really cool and waxing poetic and all of these things. But if you want respect, like you said, like, you know, control the room, have an impact on people from a person-to-person perspective, not just someone who's serving them a drink.
Well, demanding respect through a drink is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I feel like some people, when they walk in the room, whether you know them or not, you can kind of feel. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Somebody walks in the room, you're like, I don't know who the fuck that is, but they seem to really like made an impact in the room.
I think you have differences now of people who are bartenders and people who are drink makers.
Ooh,
and those
what's the difference, baby?
Things, right? You know, like anyone can make drinks, and there are people, like we talked about it earlier, who are like at-home bartenders you see on social media and stuff, who are like doing some pretty interesting things, but you put them back behind a bar, they're going to be lost, right? Dealing with all the different like distractions and guests, and having to make those drinks while having conversations, and also like looking at your bar back who's, you know, struggling to do something or whatever, like they can't find a bottle, like whatever it is. It's just different. And I think a lot of people get into this now because they try the drinks, or they see people making drinks online, and they're like, that's cool, I want to have a creative outlet like that. And again, that's part of it, but like that's not all bartending is. I think those people are then like, well, I make really delicious drinks, I should have the respect of all these other people.
My drink is better than that 50 best bars drink.
Sure, it might be. It might be, but like, I'll tell you this, like, we got it at Double Chicken Please. Someone sat down in front of me and they're like, so when we were number 6, they're like, so you guys make the 6th best drinks in the world? I go, that's not what that's about. Like, what do you mean? I go, it's not the drinks, it's the bar. And he's like, well, why are you the 6th best bar? And I go, I don't know, I don't vote. Like, even if I could, I couldn't vote for my own bar. So
my mom says I'm the best bartender in the world.
I was like, I don't know. You have to ask these people. You have to ask other people, the people who vote. Like, I don't know.
That whole thing is bullshit anyway.
Yeah, but like, I'm not going to people and be like, so do you vote? And then be like, okay, cool, full comp. Like, that's not, like, we of course we look after industry. Like, of course, like when, people are in from out of town that we know.
He has a person of interest thing on Resi. Last night was amazing. Everywhere we go, he comes up with a little asterisk. Be like, free fucking shit at restaurants. I want to just hang out with Ben. That's it.
No,
we had the same thing in Roma. I don't want to hang out with Ben. Just get free shit all the time.
No, but it's just.
The camera's like this. He's covering it. Face palm. Keep this in. We're gonna make it into a reel.
Yeah, no, but thank you.
POS, person of interest, not a piece of shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just focus on this industry. You're seeing something online. This restaurant is doing, this bar is doing something different, or whatever, or they're putting out a statement. You decide that you're gonna Karen the fuck out of it and go and comment and like, meh, calling us out. The world revolves around you? Really?
Yeah.
This person expressing their opinion or something, which doesn't really affect anyone. At the end of the day, I don't care about your awards or whatever. Is your bar busy? Are you profitable? Is your team happy? Is everything kind of running? Cool. Nothing else matters. Like, nothing else matters. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
If you have time to go and make a post and call someone out when you're busy operating a business, you have too much free time on your hands.
We talk about at bars that I've worked at, it's like when we suddenly get on these lists and it's like, well, now what do we do? And it's like the same thing we've been doing. Just like keep our heads down and keep doing what we do. We got here because like we were just doing what we thought was cool, and then other people happen to agree, so let's just keep doing what we think is cool. And I think that's like, we kind of, I think, touched on this a while back, but like the trends conversation.
Yes.
Everyone wants to know what the next cocktail trends are and all that. Like, I think they think we have like a secret meeting where we're like, all right, what are we doing this year, guys? Sushi rice and Negronis?
Yo, that fucking Parmesan espresso martini.
It's just, you have some people who do some cool things, and other people are like, oh, that is kind of cool, and it happens very organically and naturally. And like,
no one knows they're creating a new trend.
No, we just do what we're like, this is interesting, and then other people are like, oh, that is interesting, and then it's everyone's doing it. That's the thing I think that people need to stop chasing trends and just do cool stuff, and that's where innovation's going to come in.
Well, I feel like there's also like, speaking about bartenders who are like the young old bartender thing, because I think we're going to get to the next 10 years, there's going to be a bigger discussion about ageism and age in general, right? Because if you think about it, we have a layer of older industry legends, so to speak, that were the founding fathers, if we're going to use that analogy. The founders of our modern cocktail renaissance. Yeah. Every country and every region has their own. Sooner or later, we're going to lose them. Whatever.
We all do.
Whatever the fuck. We all get there. The point of it is that we haven't learned how to deal with that yet. Like, we haven't had a lot of them leave us from natural causes yet, right? And then the conversation is like kind of, oh, well, these young kids, they don't know how to work in a real bar. People get into the industry, people get out of the industry, people get hot, they stay hot, they don't stay hot, they move in and out. It's like this weird, like hamster wheel, right? Those people that worked in New York in the Attaboys, the Milk and Honeys, the classic American saloon style drinks, they're now moving on to other things. Mm-hmm. The younger generation not necessarily know how to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, sure. And when I said that, like, the people who are pouring batch don't know how to bartend, like, they do know how to bartend, but just like a very specific type of bartending at that bar. You could put on your resume that I was a bartender at the second best bar in the world, and like, you've never picked up a shaker, and like what is bartending anymore, right? Like there's a super deep.
There's your tagline.
I hate all the different names people give bartenders now, like mixologist and
all the cocktailologists, cocktail evangelists,
whatever it is, and people come and be like, so so like, what would you call yourself? And I'm like, oh, I'm a bartender. They're like, no, you're more than that. And I'm like, first off, that's not cool. Like, just because I'm not like popping 100 something Bud Lights in 10 minutes, I can't bartend at that bar. You know, I always say it's like, you know, if you're looking at like,
I kind of want it.
yeah, sometimes, right? But when you're looking at like, let's say like, you know, American football, like you have an offensive lineman who's 6'4" and 320 pounds, and then you have a kicker who like comes in maybe twice a game kind of thing. Like very different at what they do, but they're both football players. Similar kind of thing with bartending, like totally different styles, but like we're still doing the same thing effectively. We're commanding the room, we're making drinks, we're doing whatever.
I feel like if you want to be a great bartender, there's enough, you have to learn a certain level of jack of all trades stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And then you can hyper specialize.
Yeah.
But you need to learn an X amount of classics to know how to make them. I'm really bad at remembering classic names and whatever, but you throw me the ingredients, I'll probably be able to make it. One of the things I wanted to ask in New York bartenders, like, why does everybody think you guys are dicks?
In New York? Yeah. Why is everyone so sensitive?
Why is our New York bartenders pretentious assholes?
I think at one point they had to be, because when the cocktail resurgence was really happening, it was tough because like the drinking culture was lost after Prohibition. To get it back, you had to say no a lot of times. There are bars like they just refuse to carry vodka. You know, it doesn't add flavor, right? It's just alcohol. So like, why would I do that? And you know, being like, well, we don't carry vodka because of this. I'm sure people thought that was pretentious. We don't make that drink. We can't make that. Long Island iced tea, like we're not going to do that. Whatever. I think the intentions were there. I think it was like we're trying to do the right thing and trying to get this thing going, and it came off as pretentious, and it got a little bit of that reputation, and then it kind of just stuck. I think a lot of bars are battling is, you know, like, wow, we're not like I promise we're
I'm nice.
We're a chill guy. You know?
A movement starts in a place, and there's enough people there's like a saturation point where there's enough people in that place who jump on said movement, such as the cocktail renaissance. You can trace everything back to New York and the US.
Yeah.
Yes, there's history in Chicago. Yes, there's history in San Francisco, for sure. That doesn't mean that modern LA bartender needs to like tip their hat every time they see a New York bartender. It's not. They're not.
They don't owe us anything.
They don't owe shit.
I say us. I didn't start here.
But my point is, you get my point, right? Probably here the population is much more cocktail craft focused and is willing to go to new bars and try things out in 40 minutes on a fucking subway, stand in line again for another 48 minutes to an hour to get into a place to have a martini.
Yeah.
Right?
The best martini.
Oh, sorry. No, but what I mean is, at the same time, you go to other cities and be like, I'm not waiting in line. It's too hot in Dallas to wait in line.
Yeah. It's also like you have to drive.
Yeah.
Here you don't have to.
No.
You look at the best cocktail cities around the world, public transportation is readily accessible in all of those.
And walking from place to place.
Walkability, that's what I think holds a lot of cities back, is like, they're like, oh, there's this great cocktail bar. I'm like, yeah, but it's 45 minutes away, or even 20 minutes away. 20 minutes on a train doesn't feel like much.
Is New York back?
Since like COVID and everything, yes. There was a while, you know, where I think other cities were starting to get a lot more attention. You have people from other cities coming in. I think the transfer of ideas is happening much more quickly. Guest shifts, social media, just travel.
New York was never really into that for a long time.
No, but now it's like we're coming up on BCB. There are places that are busy all 3 days, you know, with a lot of events. And
why do you think that New York never participated in this thing?
Literally and figuratively, was like we're kind of on this island, and it's hard to remember that there's things outside of New York sometimes when you're here, because there's always stuff going on. It's so busy. So many people are coming here from like a tourism perspective that we're just like, okay, cool, like we're doing all these things. The cocktail renaissance kind of started here, and it's newer in other places, and they're maybe more excited. They're not quite as jaded as we are. They are happy to be like, oh, like, you know, they're kind of all doing this together globally. It's like, oh, like we're kind of in the same place as my friend's bar who's in that country. Like, hey, why don't you come out and do this thing? Whereas here we're like, no, we're just doing doing our thing. Now, especially you have this like newer generation coming in, kind of taking over a lot of bars and kind of rising to, you know, more recognizable parts of the scene here. They have more of a global focus as well, because like they came up while other people were also coming up. So now they're seeing the guest shift thing. They're like, oh, we can do that too.
People are still serving people, and like the idea that someone's ahead of someone completely destroyed. Like it's like we're all running the same race, which we clearly aren't.
What is being ahead? Like how are you winning in cocktails? You know,
what's the best thing about bartending?
It's a cliche answer, but I think it really does come down to like people, like connecting with people, and that's like been the cool thing. I think if people really like take the time and like forget about the cocktails and forget about the spreadsheets and all the things that make these bars tick, like the genuine connection you can get with people. Like if you just turn all that off and like really focus on getting to know the people, whether that's other bartenders or people sitting on the other side of your bar, whatever it is, like it becomes much more enjoyable. We're serving people. We're not serving drinks. Like we're giving drinks to people, but like we're serving the person. If you go at it with that mindset, I think you'll get a lot more out of this.
And what's the worst thing about bartending? People.
the bartenders. No. I think like the unnecessary stress. It's this sense of like being great and doing great things and like all that, and like there's no real answer to what that means. To try to like find those things, I think is tough, and people stress about it, and I'm guilty of it too. Not thinking I'm doing a good enough job and constantly, you know, being like, what can I be doing better, instead of just like having fun and doing the thing.
Enjoying life.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ben, for having me. I think that was good.
All right.